Welcome back to the Random Sound Mind Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Today's episode, we're going to watch Stephen K. Bannon interview Peter Schweizer, best-selling author, and get some insights into, I discussed this and covered this 4D chess in episode 13, which was two or three episodes ago. Go check that out, please. I gave 8 reasons behind the protest. There's this multi-layered thing that's going on. It's not grassroots, it's not organic, and there are multiple reasons for that, these protests that we see in sanctuary cities and blue cities. Some of that 4D chess that I've lightly touched on, these guys know it way more than I do, but I respect their knowledge, I respect the way they think about it, and their understanding, if I can say that, of geopolitical issues. I'll comment here and there, but this is one you got to pay attention to, of the insights that you're going to get. Okay, so this is the War Room's logo. Just wanted to show you that. I watch him on Rumble, which is real free speech versus YouTube. As far as who is Stephen K. Bannon, this is him. Picture, you may recognize him. He was in Trump's first administration. He was in contempt of Congress and got 4 months in jail because he refused to comply. Notice Bill and Hillary Clinton, those fraudsters, con artists, terrible couple. They are in contempt. Have they been thrown in jail? No. Why not? Double standard. One of the smartest guys I've ever listened to, be it economics, politics, the military, history. When he was in prison, he taught courses to the other prisoners on civics and government, basically from memory. Just unbelievable. Here's the author, this Peter Schweizer. He is multiple New York Times best-selling author.
Give a permission structure to now look at what's really going on.
Here's the
Just
book.
To look at the
Invisible
MSNBC
Coup
and Rachel
is the name of the
Maddow,
book.
see all this. This is a highly organized, highly choreographed, every aspect of their state power, backed by very sophisticated people in Mexico and the Chinese Communist Party. Foreign powers and global elites are financing this. And as we had Flynn on here talking about O'Keefe and Andy knows tweets, because those two guys are field commanders, and they're telling you, says, you do not understand that this is a spiritual war for these Marxists. They're atheists. They want to destroy Western civilization. They want to destroy Christianity, and they have embraced it, and they're hard, and they're relentless, and they're not going to quit. Peter Schweizer.
I hope you heard that. It's a spiritual battle. Marxists, Islamists, alliance is what he's talking about. The far lefters, atheists. It was only 3-4 years ago where I stopped rolling my eyes when other Christians would call this a spiritual war going on in this country. And that's on me. I do not roll my eyes anymore. It is. It manifests itself in political groups. MAGA, leftist progressives, Marxists, Islamists. But it's a spiritual war. Good theology, which I have, totally backs this up. But it's gotten more and more overt. I just didn't like saying spiritual war because I feel like it's a crutch for a lot of Christians who say it very nonchalantly about anything and everything. He's teed it up for you. Who do you talk about? Mexico and China and their influence in this country and on certain politicians and in our government and things they're doing. This is what you're about to hear from Peter Schweizer is 4D chess.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I would add to that our foreign adversaries view it the same way. They view this as civilizational warfare. They say that, I quote them in the book. They view Western Christian civilization as the fundamental thing that must be defeated because it emphasizes individual rights. It has different values than they value, and they want to defeat it. And the way they're going to defeat this is through immigration. The problem when you use...
Not to refer you back to another episode, but early on, I did an episode on dissecting the evil and vile behind all those people celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I gave you 5 reasons to break it down. And what was number 1? No, these people on the left have no set of moral values, no moral base like we have. And you just heard it. And they want to tear down Western values and Christian values.
Migration as a weapon is, who do you bomb? Who do you attack? What army do you go?
So talking about migration, you're going to see if you're watching this. I just put up some screenshots to back up what he's saying. He didn't write these. These are from other authors. This is from 2008 about migration used as a weapon of war.
After. And that is what is being replayed in the United States writ large. It's
There's
not
another
just, a couple 100,000 people from Cuba as the Mariel Belt Lift in 19.
Now you can pause it right here. I'm pausing. I'm not going to read this whole paragraph. But this is what they call an abstract when you write a paper. This is basically what the paper is about. I mean, migration is warfare. Wake up. And when it's illegal, it's really warfare. Biden let in anywhere from 12 to 20 million people in 4 years. That's war.
You're talking about tens of millions of people that have been brought to the United States, encouraged to come here. And with them, they bring not only themselves and their family, they don't even just bring their culture and their language. Steve, they bring structures, they bring political networks and structures, and these are oftentimes militant political structures. Not all of them, yes. Some of them come here, they want the American dream, they want to work hard, they want to become like Americans. But those people are shunned by these foreign movements, and they focus on these radical structures that they say are designed to transform and change America fundamentally. So that's what we're facing. And you have these bizarre alliances that people don't quite understand. You've got hardcore, Marxist activists who want trans rights.
Now, if you're not watching this, there are some screenshots I put up of what he's talking about. Marxist Islamist alliance. It's also called red-green. If you hear that, just know that's what it means. Red being the Marxists. Why? That's one of the colors, right? Red and yellow. You see it in the CCP flag, red and yellow. You used to see it in the USSR, red and yellow. And then the green is the color of Islam. You see it in certain terrorist groups that wear it. I believe it's Hamas wears green. You see it in their flags. So just know if you hear red, green alliance, that's what it's talking about.
Working with Islamists, working with atheist CCP members, working with people from the Morena Party of Mexico, working through the government apparatus.
This is AI. I just typed in red, green alliance just to have a definition because AI is good for that. Let me read it to you real quickly. The red-green alliance refers to a theoretical or emerging convergence between radical leftists, red, or Marxist. Again, atheist. You can't be a Christian Marxist. Doesn't make sense. And Islamists, which are green, who collaborate to form a common front against whom? The United States of America and its allies and global capitalism, imperialism. Whatever, imperialism. Give me a break. Continuing, despite ideological contradictions, the coalition leverages shared anti-Western, anti-capitalist, and anti-imperialist narratives. And you need to add to that anti-Christian, which Schweizer did. The AI did not do it. It continues, operating at both state and non-state levels, say researchers.
But they unite around one thing.
They unite around one thing. But as he's talking about this, you may want to pause it for a second. I took a screenshot of the same AI prompt, and it gives these key aspects of a red-green alliance. If you want to look at it, I don't want to read all of them, but what he's about to say, common goals, is backed up.
They say to destroy the United States. That's their common goal, and they will split up the spoils later on. So when you look at what's happening in Minnesota, it's not just a local thing. It's not just a Tim Walz thing. This is part of a global conflict and struggle of civilizations that's taking place in America's heartland. And we need to view it that way because all of these foreign adversarial powers, that is certainly the way they are viewing the conflict there and in the streets of America.
Let me just say, it's bad if a country, a good country gets beat in a war. Yep. It's just like any kind of athletic contest. If you get beat, you don't want to be the loser. I think what's worse than that is to not know you're in a war and you get conquered, to not know it, or to pretend you're not in it. I feel like so many people in DC are ignoring it because the information is there. And I feel like so many U.S. citizens are ignorant because you've got busy lives, or you don't like politics, or you don't like listening to it. I get it. But to realize what kind of war and what kind of people are working to take down the United States of America or weaken it to the point where it can be taken over. And there's one man since Reagan, there's one guy that has stood in their way for the most part. They hate him for it. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, one thing about every page you turn on this, you realize these people are very smart. Don't think because what you see in the Somalians in the street. These people are very smart, very cunning. The people in back of it. Just tell me about the two foreign power adversaries, the Chinese Communist Party, and the Mexican officials and business people working on this could not be smarter. They have thought this thing through. They have a strategy. As I said, if we don't quit, we win. Just like in the revolution, we can do this. And we really don't have a choice. Peter, talk about the government, the Mexican government side and the Chinese Communist Party side. They have thought this thing through to like the 10th level, sir.
Yeah, they have, Steve. And I want to talk about this too. Let me just mention briefly, you talked about the Somalis. If people view the...
Now, what he's about to say, I just covered on the Somali fraud on an episode. Again, I refer you back if you're new subscriber or you're hearing me for the first time, go check those out. I think that's some really good content. But he's about to talk about the Somali fraud, and I told you on episode just prior on breaking down 3 things about Islam. 2 of the things I broke down were taqiyya, a doctrine of deception that they are allowed, permitted, encouraged to do, and then this ghanima, Arabic word, another Arabic word for booty or treasure. Listen what he's about to say. I just talked about this.
Widespread fraud and corruption in the Somali community, just as, this is just kind of a grift, this is just typical corruption. You're not paying attention and you're not listening to what these individuals are saying. One of the things I talk about in the book is how Muslim leaders are instructing those that live in the United States to commit fraud on public assistance because it's part of a tax that they say non-Muslims pay to Muslims. So this is not just sort of rando corruption of third world grift. This is actually part of what these Islamist activists say you should do to wage war against the United States.
100% correct. You're not a Muslim, you owe us a tax, which is, I just put up the screenshot if you were watching. Jizya, that's the Arabic term. You can use ghanima. Jizya is a tax. Ghanima is the spoils of war. It's all part of their thinking. It's all part of their religion. We tax you, we take you, we rob you, we pillage, we deceive. So it's not rando, as he says, corruption.
But, Mexico and China, 2 countries, seem to have a lot of differences, and they do different methodologies, but they're very aggressive in how they carry this out. We've got 40 million Mexicans in the United States. We are slowly retaking the territory that was taken from us. That was from a senior official who works for the President Sheinbaum of Mexico. Or a quote.
Did you hear that? There are a lot of people in the Mexican government that, and I would say some citizens, I don't know how many, want to take over what they consider theirs in the United States. That's insidious. That's not an ally. Mexico's not an ally. I don't believe that for a second.
Mexican senators, and I could read dozens of them, saying the exact same thing, that mass migration is a form of warfare, immigration warfare against the United States to reclaim sovereignty over portions of the American Southwest, Texas, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. They're talking about a dozen states.
Good luck doing that in Texas. Not going to happen.
People riffing. They actually have a structure designed to encourage political activism and a radical political activism by migrants living in the United States, and it's working. They set up something in 2024 called Migrante TV, Migrant TV, funded by the...
Screenshot up if you're watching this or not is a screenshot of Migrante TV.
Mexican government, operated by the Mexican government. And what Migrant TV does is it beams over social media messages specifically for migrants living in the United States. In 2024, it was Kamala Harris is great, Donald Trump is a Nazi. When Donald Trump won, the coverage has been, here's how you defeat ICE, here's how you fight ICE. ICE are a bunch of brown shirts. Donald Trump is a bigoted racist who hates you. So they are actively trying to radicalize migrants that live in the United States, the Mexican government. They also have...
So I mentioned at the beginning about spiritual warfare. That is a tool of the devil. And it's a tool of people who don't even know they're being used, these atheist, Marxist, progressive left. Race. I'm so sick of hearing it, and we've heard it for easily 20 years. Race, race, race. It's done nothing but to divide Americans. It's divided the Christians, for crying out loud, between conservative churches and more liberal churches. And what a tool it's been of the enemy. What a spiritual warfare tool to get sucked up into it. And to look at someone else based on melanin color and demonize them. Yeah, just when you thought we were out of it, but...
network of 53 consulates in the United States. Massive number. Great Britain and China have 6 and 7 respectively. Mexico has 53. And these migrant officials are getting involved in our politics. They met with Democratic Party activists in 2024
Let me pause right here. That was a screenshot of an article. Mexico, of course, saying, no, we're not involved. We're not doing anything. We're not trying to influence things over the United States. They denied it, which is a clear lie. And then here's the Hodge twins. I love the Hodge twins. This is a post they put on their Facebook about House Democrats are in Mexico trash United States. You know how many people we have in D.C., an elected office in America, who cannot stand America? They want to reform. Obama himself said it. Transform. But you don't transform things you like. You can reform here and there.
On how to defeat Donald Trump. And they're also getting involved in organizing these violent anti-ICE protests. And on top of that, Steve, they also have these elected officials. Think about this. There are Mexican senators and members of their Chamber of Deputies, their Congress, who live in the United States, who go to Mexico City, sit in their parliament, and their job is to represent Mexicans who are living in our country. And these individuals are also going around organizing these violent protests. I would note that there is a consulate in St. Paul, Minnesota, that has been working with some of the activist groups that are neck deep.
What did I say? I just told you to refer back to that episode about the real reason behind protests. You can add the LA riots. You can add the protesters with the Mexican flag. Remember that? What was going, especially in LA? Those are not grassroots. All these fomenting of the protests. Then you add Soros and all his team on top of that. This is a rigged game we're playing in. You need to know it's rigged. You need to know the 4D chess that's going on behind the protests, like he's talking about, as well as all this other shady deep state stuff that's happening.
In this activism. So it's a very sophisticated effort. China's doing somewhat similar things, but in some respects in a more sophisticated way. They have exploited the birthright citizenship issue, which the Supreme Court is going to say.
Birthright citizenship, for those who don't know, is simply, you may be illegal, but if you have a child in the United States, in one of the 50 states, they are automatically a U.S. citizen. That amendment, I think, is never meant to do that. And he's going to explain what there's many things behind that. There's 4D chess behind that. Voting, influence, bringing illegals over because you're a U.S. citizen, getting them visas.
And a lot of people look at that, Steve, and say, well, you know, somebody's kind of randomly happens to be here and they give birth to a child. What's the big deal if they're granted U.S. citizenship? No. China has an industrial scale model that they have been doing this for more than 10 years. They advertise and they run articles in the People's Daily, the CCP main publication, telling members of the Chinese Communist Party elite, go to the United States, your child can get U.S. citizenship. They're encouraging them to do it. And we in the United States have no idea how many Chinese officials have done this because we don't track it. It's not on birth certificates. The Chinese government.
Again, it's better to be in a war and lose than not be in one and get conquered. We don't even know what he's saying. We can't track it. We have no idea. That one article I just showed you a screenshot of 1.5 million. How is this allowed to happen?
Believes that over the last 13 years, every year, roughly 100,000 Chinese babies have been born in the United States who are then brought back to China where they are being raised. So do the math. That's more than 1 million
and indoctrinated
quote, U.S. citizens
1 million
who are being raised in China. And guess what? When they turn 18, Steve, they're going to be able to vote. They're going to be able to donate to political campaigns.
So they give birth over here, take them back to China. 18 years or 20 years, however, of indoctrination. You don't go against the CCP. They have a strong grip on power, despite the Lao Beijing, the common folk of China, wanting to get rid of the Chinese Communist Party. And then they come back here. We admit them on visas. They're citizens, so then they can bring their relatives over. Perhaps they get someone a visa to go to university where they can steal other secrets. They can work in the government. We had 2 people busted last year, Chinese spies. Are you kidding me? What are we doing? Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview between Bannon and Schweizer in discussing his book, The Invisible Coup, as well as some of this 4D chess that I have discussed in prior episodes, but nothing like he does. Invisible Coup, an appropriate title for his book. And we talked about Mexico and China being the main 2. There are others, of course. You got Mexico doing things. You got China doing these things on all different levels. And this is dark. This is highly concerning. This worrisome because I see a spiritual layer below that. As a nation that is viewed as a Christian nation, which we are, found on Christian principles, and look who's trying to take us down. You wonder why the one guy standing in their way and his cabinet, second round, who are a lot better than his first term, is Trump. Trump's second term, the people you have in there now are totally aware of Schweizer and some of his arguments. More aware than Schweizer probably, because they have details that he doesn't. I am very thankful that we've got a guy that is America first, standing up against all these different tentacles of different countries, cleverness, the crafty, the cunning things that they are doing. And we've got somebody who's standing up for Americans. And he's hated. Outside this country, at the World Economic Forum, for example, a bunch of global elites, could add that to the list of China and Mexico. They'd love to see Trump go down. And then you got people in this country who hate him. And so misinformed are so many of the people in this country. They have no idea of any of this stuff. Thank God people like Bannon and other people get it out there. I hope you got a lot out of that, despite how troubling these topics can be. Until next time, stay alert, stand firm, show courage, and be sound.